unpack your knives and stay. Yes, stay. Welcome everybody to the finale episode of Top Chef RHAPup for Top Chef Wisconsin. We have made it through another season. We have thoughts, we have feelings, and I'm not alone to thought or feel them. Hi, LaTonya.
Hi.
What's up? Good. Wait, what did you ask me? How's it going? Good. Yeah, that's a good answer.
It's an acceptable answer
for that question.
Yeah.
Kurt.
Hello.
Welcome. No
Thank
questions
you.
for me. No one confuse me.
No questions for you.
We thought since this was the finale that we should have a finale party. So we invited some friends. Chef Jim, welcome back again this season to the Top Chef RHAPup.
It is always great to be on, and I am so excited to talk about, I know that this season is often getting a little bit maligned, but I really enjoyed it. So I'm happy to talk about this finale.
I can't wait for you to be the positive voice in this. And you're right. I said friends with an S. Hi, Owen.
Hello. Thanks for having me back. And I'm glad Jim is feeling warm and fuzzy about this. I didn't dislike it per se, but
no.
We'll talk through it, I'm sure. But honored to be back. Always love to talk about Top Chef, and glad I found this little pocket of RHAP to talk about it with. And psyched to be here with Jim too. We were big fans. I was telling him before we started recording, my folks live close to his place in Mobile, so I'll have to swing by the restaurant one of these days and try his food.
I always keep an eye out for. I always try to keep an eye out for local survivors because there are a couple. Boston Rob theoretically lives about 40 minutes from where I am, but also
Rob.
JT. Yeah, JT. It lives in my town and is a farmer, right? Who I have yet to meet and has yet to come up to my doorstep and offer me any beef. But I definitely keep an eye out for him. Oh,
Love
and that
it.
reminds me, Haley. I've got some beef with you because I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I grew up with Bobby John, and all of you people who were on the Survivor 50 wish list who were like, no bringing back Bobby John. That is so not cool. Bobby John is awesome. I have known him since 5th grade. And
wow.
If there is a Bobby John fan club for anyone in the RHAP community, it is for sure me. So
that's amazing.
Listen, I wasn't against bringing Bobby John back. I just thought he should have been brought back from the Guatemala crew, not the Palau crew, because there were so many other options.
Yeah.
All right, the top headline of the evening. Congrats to Danny. Sorry if I've spoiled that for you. If you somehow started this podcast without watching the episode. Danny is our new top chef. He has won Top Chef 21. Congrats to him. It did feel like a very fitting winner for this season, although I would have been pretty satisfied with any of these three winning. I'm getting some nods from the panel, and you can see the nods on our YouTube channel where this video is going to be. I think he's a really appropriate winner for this season, and I'm thrilled. LaTonya, where are you at?
Yeah, I saw Danny picking up some momentum. He's been doing well throughout the entire season. He's now set the record for the most amount of money won from Top Chef during a single season, which is very impressive. But there was something about in the last episode when he was like, yeah, I run a marathon and then I came here. I was like, oh shit, he's gonna win. He just, I don't know, there's something about him that is kind of like, there's like swagger about him that I don't know if the other contestants necessarily have. And like I said last week, anyone who cooks in Jordans is a winner in my book. So,
Chef Jim, are you glad that Danny is representing your Top Chef brother as the latest winner?
Yeah, I think that he is an excellent winner. He definitely he's obviously an incredibly talented chef, and he's a good representative winner. I just wish that the finale did a better job of explaining why he was the winner.
Yeah, thank you.
I really, but I'm sort of the same way. Any of the three of them could have won, and it was sad to see Savannah crash and burn like she did. But I just didn't. I think this needed to be a longer episode. I kind of think that an hour was too short. 30 minutes would have helped so much.
Owen, was he your number one rooting interest?
No, actually, Savannah was my rooting interest going in. I think I enjoyed her growth arc and watching her confidence kind of increase throughout the season a little bit more, just for my taste. I mean, Danny obviously is super talented, but he did kind of have something of a winner's edit kind of across the season. I don't know how much, if that's fair to compare, but obviously I'm so Survivor oriented. That's something I think about a little bit. And even in the intro to last night's episode, it's like, I am Top Chef, and it was on him at the beginning. But to Jim's point, I completely agree. Like, it felt like Dan was going to win. To me,
Dan had an incredible episode, his best episode of the season, easily. And I accidentally got spoiled by Gail's Instagram post. But if I hadn't seen that, it's my own fault. I should have known better. But if I hadn't seen that, I would have thought that Dan had a really strong chance at winning.
Yeah. So my last thought there is just, I feel a little bad for Danny, because a lot of the discourse is like, it's kind of surprised, or like the edit's weird and it's not really celebrating what I imagine was a pretty dominating win in the final meal. But I think they edited it to make it look a little bit closer. So yeah, it was a little strange. I had Dan winning 2 courses to Savannah winning 1, and then Danny winning dessert. So I was a little surprised.
I was
doing the same. I'm sorry. I was doing the same. I thought Dan had it in the bag. Like, I thought for sure he was going to be the winner, and so that did take me by surprise. And to your point, it's like maybe it was they edited it to be close, to make it look closer than it was. But I think they may have like overcorrected on that front. Like, we didn't get enough. Yeah. Like, just like, why did he win? I don't know if I needed another 30 minutes, Jim, but it was, I mean, if that would have helped paint the picture, then sure. Why not?
Well, there were a lot of things I just didn't understand. Like, I felt like for instance, I thought Dan was saying like, these dishes describe me in the past, in the future, and where I am now. And then he's saying I was inspired by Danny, and also I'm serving pickles. And so I kind of think that like maybe he was inspired by a lot of the other chefs. Like, man, like I feel like he had a story for his meal that we just didn't see. We just sort of heard this is what I'm into now, but they didn't really explain like how why is there pickles, which is definitely, a dish that Charlie was making. Like, and I suspect he's probably never made before he met Charlie. In the same way with using the tea, he said that Danny was his inspiration behind the dish. Like, I just don't feel like we just got sort of like the most basic, this represents where I am now. And I just didn't understand. I wish I sort of knew the thought, like, it's clear the chefs put a lot of thought process into these dishes and the coursing and why they reflect themselves and represent who they are as a person and a chef. But I just don't feel like I got that explanation really anything other than the most sort of basic level.
Yeah. Would you have wanted to be picked to be one of the 3 sous chefs, or would you have wanted to be one of the people who got to basically cruise?
I desperately wanted to be picked. I was giving Brooke the eye, like, yeah, but because I really, more TV time is more TV time. And if you run a business, you want to have that time. And so I was really bummed when I didn't get picked. Yeah, but like they always pick, they should pick people who lasted farther in the season than I did for sure. But the other thing too is like I really think Savannah picked the wrong person. And I love her, but I think that like if you're gonna make a stuffed pasta, why don't you pick the woman who just crushed a stuffed pasta in the episode before, right? Like instead of the woman who failed to make pasta well in the first episode. Like I feel like that was a real strategic error by Savannah. Mm-hmm. But yes, I wanted to cook. I wanted to cook badly. I mean, it was awesome to hang out on the beach in Mexico with everybody who didn't get picked, but I would have loved to have been picked.
I like the episodes where they like the unpicked chef testants get to eat the final meal as well, and then like tell me the hot takes. Like, did you get to do that? Did you get to eat the final meal and give the hot takes? Yeah. See, I like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like
that. In Mexico, they were serving for more than just the judges' table. It was the judges' table plus probably maybe 25 or 30 other people in there. So it wasn't just 7 plates that they had to make. So it was like a service.
Did they do it like Brooke did her whole meal and then, or was it like first?
It was head to head
together. Okay.
Yeah,
because I know they've done it both ways sometimes. So this elimination challenge, create the best 4-course progressive meal of your life. You get to do that on the ship. They are docked in Aruba, and they get to go to one of the markets and get some ingredients there. I thought Danny played this really strategically well, understanding what the kitchen had and didn't have to like waste his money on like mostly proteins and stuff. I thought that was interesting. And they each got a sous chef. Dan picked his best bud, Amanda. Savannah picked Michelle, and Danny picked Manny, which was an interesting combo that was not great for my people-pleasing nature. I did like the fighting, not fighting, but
it seemed a little bit tense, I guess, at times. And I thought for sure there was there was the moment when they were shopping where Danny was like, well, they've got to have scallops on the boat, so I'm not going to worry about getting that. And I thought that maybe that was like a
red herring.
That was going to be a mistake or something where he gets there's like, oh crap, I have to pivot. We just got done seeing him saying, I've got this worked out to a T, and everything's planned out. And so I thought that was going to maybe throw him a curveball, throw a wrench into it. And then like that, I've got everything planned to a T. Didn't really jive, it seemed, with Manny's approach in the kitchen. So
I feel like Danny picked the wrong person too.
Manny,
not the right choice.
Manny has no sense of urgency whatsoever,
and that's why I love him.
Yeah, no, me too. He seems like someone that you could just chill with, like go on a nice leisurely shopping trip. Wonderful, wonderful companion. Shop for the last meal that you'll ever cook of your life, or most important meal you'll ever cook of your life. I don't know. But I do think that a lot of what Danny was doing was like talking to himself, like trying to pump himself up to keep himself going and be more urgent. But it was funny when he was like, are you just watching water? What are you doing?
Yeah, turn that water up. Yeah. I did like the confessional where he's like, when I'm saying that to Manny, I'm saying it to me. Yeah. And one thing I wanted to add,
10% faster. And Manny's like
10%. 120% tomorrow. Yep. I have noticed over the years, I remember there's been times where certain chefs get picked just because they're like lightning fast at prep, and the person who's still in the finale just wants to choose someone to do the more menial mise en place and like not necessarily have this kind of ideation factor. So to Jim's point, like I think Michelle and Savannah, I don't know if that was like the best combo, because like Michelle is really talented, but I feel like Savannah almost listened to her too much and like let her talk her into stuff, because we saw the failure with the mofongo. We saw like some elements kind of fall flat where in theory it seemed like a good creative idea, but I just wonder if it could have used a little more like editing direction, just like to the point, just like focus. So I don't know.
I very much felt like Savannah had a really interesting approach to her final menu, which was like to be inspired by what was there, where Danny was so rigid in his, but then his worked out better than Savannah's did. Like Savannah almost Carla Halled herself. And like, I don't think it was like a matter of Michelle overtaking what Savannah was saying. I think what Michelle was putting forward were great ideas, but just like couldn't work in execution for whatever reason.
Savannah didn't seem to have a plan like drawn up as much as the other chefs did.
There was no Saplana.
What the hell?
I cracked myself.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I think there's two strategies. And Danny picked the right one. Is that you need to have like, if you watch a bunch of finales, you're gonna hope for it's 4 courses. You can cook whatever you want to cook, no limitations. And so you should have 4 dishes planned, prepped, and ready to go with the dishes that you're gonna have local ingredients for. But then sort of like when you get there, if it's a different challenge, you can hopefully adjust those dishes that you have to fit the challenge or the ingredients. But Savannah's strategy of just sort of like, I'm going to wait till I hear the challenge to pick the dishes or have some basic idea of what I'm going to do is definitely the wrong strategy, because once the challenge was given, Danny was like, boom, I don't have to change anything. He's probably practiced these dishes at home. He's probably, like seen how long it takes to cook, like all of those. He's probably practiced them really well, where you can guarantee that she pretty much hasn't. And so like, I definitely think he took the right approach to the finale. And the other thing too is like the finale, if it's in a different location, like if I had been cooking in the finale in Mexico, I would have picked Katsuji just for his, Spanish speaking ability. And so like, like that would have been for sure something to think about too. Now, I mean, maybe Danny picked Manny, and maybe there are some other Spanish speakers, but I suspect that both of them are Spanish speakers. Like maybe he wanted to take away that potential, benefit from somebody else. Maybe not.
All right, let's get into some of these finale meals. Let's start with Dan. For his first course, he made a tuna tartare with ruby red grapefruit, Caribbean pepper puree, garlic chips, and black garlic labna. He did an interesting technique on his tuna. I believe he like sous vide it a little bit, and it made it more of a jammy texture. And Tom hated that with his whole heart and soul.
As did I. Did anyone else have a visceral reaction when the word jammy tuna was said on television?
When Amanda was like, this has the same consistency as the grapefruit. I was like, well, why though?
Why? Because black garlic labna sounds delicious. I was prepared to really like this, but yeah, that consistency just sounded too off for me. I don't know. And it seemed to have cost him at some point or another, but yeah, not for me.
For his second dish, he made grilled snapper with braised pumpkin and smoked snapper dashi. I didn't think this.
Sorry, was this the one that were supposed to be the anchovies?
Anchovies, yeah. But they cooked them.
Anchovies.
No,
what an odd thing.
I was like, are they cooking my anchovies? Poor Dan.
So like the way I would have just taken the anchovies and be like, thank you so much, and like then like I like can't order anything else, like they'll know I'm mad at them, like I can't have that person thinking I'm mad at them.
No, this is what I wanted. Great job. Thank you. This is what I meant by clean.
Top Chef show, like it's no big deal. Thank you. There's no way I would have told the woman that I didn't want it anymore. It's not a chance. Grilled snapper with braised pumpkin is smoked snapper dashi. I didn't think this was going to work, but the judges very much enjoyed it.
I'm intrigued. Snapper are a big thing down here in the Gulf South, and they're delicious fish. And I have a hard time picturing it with pumpkin, but it looked like a beautiful plate of food with the broth and everything, and just his grill work on the pumpkin, like that nice charredness on there. I was intrigued. That was one that I wish I could have reached through the TV. Jim, are you a big snapper person?
Yeah, for sure. And I have been really big on the snapper restoration projects. Like Alabama has tons of artificial reefs, really just to get the snapper populations to bounce back. Really, states like Florida and no offense, Louisiana, they really don't care about the populations when it comes to sustainability. They just sort of like, it's like the Wild West in the waters. But really, if you look to Alabama and Mississippi, we are the people who really make sure that the snapper populations are sustainable through lots and lots of effort, really over the past 7 or 8 years to get those species to bounce back.
Thank goodness. I thought you were going to tell me another fish I couldn't eat. Traumatized.
No, snapper is great. And we actually, I'm deep involved in sort of like things like the mortality of like snapper eggs based on sand versus reefs, and like we do a lot of like hard sciences relating to the snapper reproduction, and so it's really weird. Like I really love the Monterey Bay Aquarium, but like sometimes the math and the science that they use is like huge, like is giant bodies of water, and so we like really get scientists to do like very specific in-depth studies of like where these fish populations are in the Gulf of Mexico. But yes, there's a lot of science involved, but I love to eat snapper. I serve it all the time, a wide variety of snapper. And it is really, thanks to Alabama and Mississippi, a safe, sustainable fish to eat, especially from the Gulf.
You're welcome, everybody.
I'm glad I got my hot take last week of all fish are the same out of my system.
For Dan's third dish, he made oxtail ragu with dumplings, tomato concasse, pickles of cabbage, carrots, and scallions. For my money, this is the dish I most want to eat out of everything served this evening in the finale.
It looks amazing.
It looked so good. It sounded delicious. Like it kind of almost sounded like this was Dan's best dish of the season.
It does, yeah. It looks so good, and everything about oxtails is a yes for me.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Such a staple of the South, too. I think and something that I feel like now everyone has gotten into. I feel like when I was growing up, not a lot of people ate oxtail, but now it's so expensive because everyone is buying it.
They're gentrifying oxtail for sure.
Yes, that is what happened. The prices skyrocketed, and they cost as much as short rib these days. And so,
yes,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Dan's dessert was a yogurt mousse with coriander, olive oil, grilled pineapple, and salted phyllo crisp. I don't think they had to make a dessert. It didn't seem to be explicitly outlined. I very much appreciate when they make dessert. It feels very like whole to me. This looked delicious. You could fuck me up with grilled pineapple and I'd be just fine with that.
I don't even know what to say to that. I agree. I did that on Survivor, and it was delicious. Yeah, it hits every time.
Owen, do you have any foods you can no longer eat because you ate them too much on Survivor?
Coconut.
Coconut.
Coconut water specifically. Like I'll eat coconut if it's in a dessert or something, but like coconut water, the smell still makes me not feel well. Yeah.
It makes my stomach churn, and I've never been on Survivor. Like
I've
tried coconut water. I'm like, who is
I don't get it.
What's the market for this?
I don't get it.
Not my thing. Never was, and now never will be for sure.
So Dan had a really lovely, beautiful menu. I will say, I don't really totally see like a very neat progression here. And Jim, I think it might be to your point that like we didn't see him explain it at the table, like why things were going together. Like it very much feels like here's 4 individual dishes that I made and I like. But I mean, I'm not going to be a hater on any of them.
No, but I think we're onto something there because like even in his like explanation in the kitchen to Tom and Emerald versus what he said at the table, it was like 2 different things. So I think he was still working on his sales pitch up until he got to the presentation. So I think that's kind of important. And I think, I mean, we'll get to this in a little bit, but like Danny's story around his dessert, like that story really sold the dish, and it reminded me honestly of like sitting at a tribal council honestly.
Yeah,
and just like you've got to sell your narrative
yeah.
a little bit, and Dan's narrative was not as clear. I think Jim made a really good point earlier about that.
I think maybe Dan has some issues with this story planning, because I feel like we saw that a couple episodes ago where he was like, this is my meal and this is the story, and it was just like, okay.
And Restaurant Wars.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, exactly. I think he maybe likes to make dishes he wants to make, and it like tries to connect them after, which like fair enough, but harder for a TV product.
Yeah, and I do think he should have explicitly said, I compressed and sous vide the tuna so it would mimic the texture of the green red grapefruit, because a lot of times in Top Chef they want you to play with food like that, to make things texturally taste different, or to make things look like, like if you want to have 2 things that taste very different but look the same on the plate, that is something that you're oftentimes rewarded for on Top Chef. And I think that if he'd have kind of like, he should have pitched it a little bit differently, and they should not have been surprised by like, what did he do to the tuna to make it this way? And, like he should have like been very specific. Like it might have won him. Like if in Tom's mind before he tasted it, he knew that the tuna was going to have a textural thing, it might not have been so negative at the table.
So shocking.
Jammy.
So let's move on to Savannah's menu. Like we said, her sous chef was Michelle. She had a bit more of a loose interpretation going into this. I thought her story made sense. She was going for the theme of like places she's cooked before. So she started with the salt fish fritter, sweet potato puree, pickled mussel, and habanero honey glaze as her like North Carolina tribute. This sounds incredible, and I think this was her best dish of the meal. And unfortunately, it just kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah.
And Michelle had a big hand in the design of this dish too.
Yeah. The saltfish fritter with the sweet potato puree sounds delicious. Pickled mussel, I will have to leave that behind due to my mollusk allergy. But again, the habanero honey glaze, this like the whole first course like would send me to the hospital, like from everyone basically. Like all of Danny's dishes were like, can we throw like a mussel on there just to like mess things up. Jim, maybe, okay, write this down for the Ask Jim segment later. What happens when your judges have allergies, or do they only invite people who don't have allergies?
Yeah, that's a good question.
We'll save the answer to the Ask Jim segment, which I'm so excited about. What are our thoughts on the fritter?
It looked delectable to me.
It looks really good.
Yeah,
I would go to town on that plate of food for sure. The habanero honey sounded delicious, and it seemed like, you know, like what I love about food is like the elevated versions of like something very approachable. You know, I think it looked like something familiar and like that harkened back like a memory or something like that, but obviously to like a Top Chef degree of quality, adding in a couple ingredients that really spice it up a bit, but make it still feel like, you know, something warm and familiar. So yeah, I would have licked the plate on that one, I think.
The fritters look like they were, I mean, they even said they were fried perfectly on the show, which was awesome, Michelle.
I'm not, as we know, I'm not a huge fish person, but I do like my fried foods. So I think the saltfish fritters would have won out there, especially if paired with the sweet potato puree. Take or leave the pickled mussel, but the honey glaze on both the sweet potato and the fritter. Like, just give it to me everywhere. Keep it for the next 3 dishes too. I'll just use it on those.
It seemed like Gail really liked the pickled mussel on the dish, but for me, like just looking at the pictures of the dish, it looked like it was just sort of like this randomly placed.
It was
to me,
just
it did
there.
not look like it. Yeah, it did not look like it was part of a cohesive dish to me. But Gail seemed to really like the way it reacted with the sweet potatoes. So.
Side note, I want to shout out to Gail's stylist this season. She has looked so incredible every single episode. This episode was no exception. Kristen's outfit was also incredible. She looks stunning in red. I want every one of her outfits, and I would not be able to pull a single one of them off.
Yeah, they look great.
I'm set for Michelle's second dish. For Savannah's second dish, she made a spiny lobster agnolotti with lobster broth, smoked Marcona almonds, and grapes. I am a whore for lobster, so I do love the idea of this. But like, as soon as you try and mousse a seafood, like I'm out. Like, it's just like a texture thing for me. I'm just out. Also, I just don't think the almonds or grapes made any sense on this.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Sorry, we got to recover here.
You gotta warn us a little bit. What
fun would that be?
Much like the salmon, if it's gonna be
no more stealth whores, please.
Yeah.
This sounded way better in the like ideation section than it did in execution. And then I didn't recall her talking about the almonds or the grapes when she was in the kitchen, but then when it came out to the table with that, I was just like, what the hell is that?
This is not what I want. I love grapes. I don't want them here.
Yeah.
What are the almonds doing?
Food pasta.
Here's a production thing, is that I think that after the challenges are done, you're given a piece of paper and you have to say, write down what your dish is and put everything on it. And that's what they use for like when they're making the description of the dish on screen. But when you look at the descriptions of her dish on screen, it just said lobster agnolotti with lobster broth. And that means probably to me that she was probably had enough of filling out the forms and listing the ingredients and just said, here you go, lobster ravioli. I will say it seemed pretty clear to me that none of these chefs had ever worked with spiny lobster before, which is a very different animal than like Maine style lobster. It doesn't have claws at all. I mean, it has little tiny pincers, but actually the best piece of meat from a spiny lobster is the antennae meat, which is something that you might not think about unless you've actually like worked with them before. And they are crazy. Like there's a reason why they're called spinies, because they will stab the heck out of you. And they are very different. The meat is not as good as a Maine lobster. I mean, it's good in a different way, but it tends to be stringy. You can overcook it very easily. You can undercook it also very easily. And it's just not the easiest. It's like if you're used to northeastern lobster, it is a very, very different animal. And it's much harder to cook well. And so it just seemed to me like they were, Savannah and Danny both struggled for sure with it. You could even hear Emerald say, even with spiny, you could hear Emerald make the distinction between spiny lobster and northeastern lobster very clearly at the table.
Wow, I didn't know all that, but yeah, I think even Tom mentioned something to that effect as well about like the difficulty of it, but I didn't know. But man, the antenna meat I would not have guessed would be the best part.
They were
I
huge though, those lobsters. They were huge, the
They were
tails.
big. Would I prefer to fall into a tank of spiny lobsters or lionfish?
Lionfish for sure.
Okay.
Really?
We'll
Even
talk
though
about that later.
sting? Oh, I can't
They're
wait.
slow.
Oh.
They are. Yeah, we'll talk about lionfish in
Okay.
detail. I know.
Add it to Jim's
about
questions.
lionfish.
For Savannah's. Oh, go ahead. No,
I was just gonna say real quick that the dough to me looked really dry. I was kind of surprised, like when they first started to cut it up and shape it. I was kind of surprised that they didn't decide to go back and make another one or make some changes to that dough, because even on TV, it looked like it was way too thick and tough.
If you had 8 cups of flour, how many eggs should you be using?
Oh, the math on that one is rough. It's been like I really make pasta very little. I used to make it more. I want to say it's almost 2 to 1, right? Like you do more by weight, really. But I think that it's like maybe I'm totally wrong about this. I want to say it's for every 2 cups you need like 1 yolk and 1 whole egg. Maybe it's something kind of like, I forget my pasta. I am, when it comes to baking formulas, I always break out the recipe.
You could have given any answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we would have believed you.
We'll just believe anything you say at this
50
point.
eggs to 1 cup of water sounds good.
It's a lot of power. Use it wisely.
For her third course, Savannah made seared grouper with epis sauce, mofongo plantains, and flying fish roe butter sauce. Everyone at the table agreed that the mofongo, for those just listening, I did air quotes. The mofongo wasn't good. It was a bad
bad
and
mofongo.
it wasn't real.
Bad mofongo.
That's my college nickname.
It made me think of my Puerto Rican coworker who would have thrown something at the TV if he's heard that get called mofongo. Like I think it's interesting because they got so hung up on the semantics of the choice, but I think it really had a big impact on their expectation of what it was going to be. If she had just called it like fried plantains or mofongo style or something like that, but
definitely not mofongo, but maybe kind of looks like it.
Kind of, yeah. I was inspired by it, but I'm not saying it is it. But I can't think of a better word. But yeah, it's kind of set her up for failure.
Faux mungo. It's
faux mungo. There you go.
No,
mofo mungo.
Mofo, no.
I would like to apologize to the audience listening and watching for the jokes that have happened on this episode.
Yeah, we're on one this episode.
Top Chef Wrap-Up.
Savannah finished her meal with the hummingbird upside down cake, lime and pineapple granita, rum coconut sauce. This was a successful dish, but I feel like the judges had a little bit of trepidation towards it. They're like, it was good, but I think they liked the other 2 desserts better. That's just the vibes I was picking up off of them.
I would agree.
I think she'd have been better off. I actually know a lot about hummingbird cake too. Well, the name of my restaurant is the Hummingbird Way, but
is that
the
related?
Cake a lot. Well, no, I'll tell you what is related is that the hummingbird cake was the official state dessert of the state of Alabama when I became the state executive chef, and so I made tons of hummingbird cake at the mansion. But then, sort of halfway through my tenure, it got fired as the state cake, and then Lane cake became the official state dessert for the state of Alabama, which is much more fitting. It's To Kill a Mockingbird. It was invented in Alabama. Hummingbird cake is for sure a Jamaican, Caribbean kind of cake, but it's awesome. It's made she tried to make it too fancy, and I've eaten at other restaurants that tried to make it fancy. And I'll tell you what it's supposed to be. It's a quick bread. The way it should be made is like banana bread with pineapples and nuts in it, and then you cover the whole thing in cream cheese icing. And I also drowned mine in creme anglaise. And so, it should be, it's more like a carrot cake, or it should be one of banana bread plus awesome icing plus other ingredients. And every time I've had sort of the deconstructed versions, or people try to use a white cake or a chiffon cake, it just is not the same. And I know that the cake I'm describing is a lot easier to make, but I feel like it also tastes better in the end. And I will tell you that I saw that Kelsey, winner of Top Chef Louisville, also she has just been posting maybe a week or two ago about her hummingbird cake, which is a very like layered, beautiful, like made by a cake decorator. I'm not one of those people, but you can find pictures of hummingbird cake for sure on our social media. And it's a dessert that I'm a huge fan of. And
Do
this
you
to me,
do you serve it there at Hummingbird Way?
yeah, we rotate the cakes regularly. Like we do hummingbird cake, plain cake. Right now we're doing pineapple upside down cake, which is a favorite of mine. And then we also do either like a Coca-Cola chocolate or a spiced chocolate cake. And so we have sort of like a rotation of like 5 cakes that we like to run through on the menu.
As a Coca-Cola girly,
we do chocolate Coca-Cola cake with peanut brittle, and I love that dessert so much. It's the whole like the peanut. And
oh no, I'm gonna have to look up my little flights to Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been peeking at the menu kind of this whole time, and I'm definitely gonna have to hit the restaurant next time I go to Alabama.
You should start sending your cakes across the U.S. You can call it cakes across the U.S.
I tried to sign up for Goldbelly, but those jokers are like very like exclusive. And like I've applied to be on Goldbelly, I think maybe 3 times. Like I wanted to sell biscuits on Goldbelly. I wanted to sell crab cakes on Goldbelly. I had recommendations from other people who were on Goldbelly to be like, hey, this is Jim Smith. But
wow.
they're very exclusive. Very exclusive.
Damn. Rude.
How rude.
I've gotten muffaletta through Goldbelly.
From Central Grocery?
No, through the Goldbelly, the website. I can't
No.
I can't remember,
it's probably from Central Grocery.
Probably so.
Well, fine. Let's continue. I'm going to.
Curt will look it up while I talk about Danny's winning menu. He started his meal off with a scallop and habanero leche de tigre with breadfruit and nori tuile. This was really gorgeous. I love the presentation of it. It was very Danny. It was like a really lovely way to start off the dish. Tom and everyone else at the table said it could have used a couple grains more salt. Danny was not thrilled about that comment.
Yeah, in the stew room, he kind of seemed just being like, "Oh, they said more salt." Like he was a little annoyed by it. It seemed.
Yeah, I think because he brined it beforehand, he was like, "It's salty enough." What do you?
He was like, "I brined the fish for the fish boil, and y'all like that? Why not this?"
Yeah, I mean that's just a good indicator. He probably didn't taste it all together before he served it. And I thought that this was going to cost him big time, but it really didn't. It really didn't seem to. I do have a hot take, and I know I'm sort of in the minority on this, but these shaped twills to me require like no skill. And I know that people are like, "Ooh, here's a leaf twill," and "Oh, here's this twill that's shaped." Like if you have you basically have a rubber mold and you put whatever your cracker or whatever into it and you bake it, and it's like they do look really good on the plates. But I think this is going to be one of the things in like 5 years that like chefs are going to be like, God, that was so dumb. Why were we putting these like stupid looking leaves on top of plates? And this is a very good version of it, and I'm sure it tasted really great. But to me, I'm just kind of over it, like the leaf shaped twill or the, you know what I mean? It's just you put it in a silicone mold. Yeah, it's gimmicky. You put it in your silicone mold, and you can have gummy bear shaped twills or whatever you want. It doesn't. It's not really. It looks good, but it's not really like an indicator of skill in my mind. And really, it's oftentimes a distraction. Like really, like I wanted to see what that dish looked like under the twill, because we never all we saw was the scallop shell twill on top of it, and like I really wanted to see the rest of it, and you just never saw it shot. Or like the reveal.
I felt that way about Dan's dessert too, where it was like, where is it? Show me. Show me.
Those giant phyllo crisp things, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it was missing? It was missing a buttered saltine. As all dishes.
I know, I'm surprised Danny didn't just like be like, enjoy your buttered saltine. Listen, I would like a buttered saltine though.
You can call him Saltine Bay from now on.
Saltine Bay, that's good.
His second dish was smoked mussels with plantains and cabbage and smoked mussel mayo with bean herb puree. I just feel like I can't even comment on this one because it's so muscle heavy that it just like it's giving me a stomach ache to even read the description.
It'd be disingenuous, whatever you said.
It would be. And like the idea of like mayo in like a broth. Tom was like, I think we've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending. And Danny was like, no, I got it. Please trust me. And Tom was like, I don't. But then he liked it, but I don't like thinking about it personally.
I don't know why the cabbage was there. Like when I think of eating mussels, and then I think plantains and cabbage, that also gives me a stomach ache just looking at it.
I also love how everyone was like, we didn't know how to eat this. Like, were they not allowed to talk at the table and like tell them what the scoop was? Because Danny really should have been like, use the plantain, scoop it all up. It's like a fun nacho.
Because it was Kristen who said that, right? I believe. Like,
yeah,
or,
she was like,
yeah,
she was like, we all found it hard to eat, and he was like, well, obviously use it as a plantain, and she's like, it was good anyway. You ate it.
Yeah,
it was fine. It was good.
That gave me kind of flashbacks to then like the other side of that coin where the food comes and they give explicit instructions, and then the critique is sometimes it should be self-explanatory. You know, you shouldn't have to tell your diners.
Don't tell me how to eat. Yeah,
it should be self-explanatory.
So yeah, it was.
Yeah. But it was like, what if we just cut in cabbage, and then you can't see what you're eating, and we'll all have fun. For his third dish, he made spiny lobster with salsa matcha, squash persimmon, and chaza sauce. The sauce sounds incredible. I love the idea of the lobster. They were having some cooking issues. And Jim, I think this goes back to your point of like, it's just literally a different thing to cook than regular lobster.
And I find it hard to believe that he intentionally served it mid-rare. Like, I think that he was like,
oh yeah, that was a lie. He was like, yeah, mid-rare. Yeah, that was a lie, and I love that.
How I cook all my lobster, definitely.
Yeah. Like, I love the commitment to the bit. Like, yep, that is absolutely how I intended it.
My grandmother,
yeah, my grandmother liked wet, cold lobster on the plate.
Yeah, this is an honor of her.
That.
He very clearly in the kitchen got the lobster and was like, this isn't cooked at all. This is raw. And then was like, boil some water. And they ran out of time before it cooked. That's honestly just what happened. That was like the one flaw, I think, in the cooking plan for him.
I noticed him especially a bunch over the course of the season, and also Laura. They use the steamer a lot, which to me the steamer is like no bueno. Like I would only use a steamer if like I had to. But I know that there are lots of ways that you can use it to do it really well. But you're basically talking about just a cooked piece of meat with no seasoning on it that also hasn't received any like sear or flame or anything else. It's like Laura putting the fish in the oven without searing it first. Like I just find it weird. And I know that in the super high end restaurants, there's a lot of steaming that goes on. But to me, it's kind of like the Twills. Is I think that you lose what you could have. Like honestly, if you just take the spiny lobster and cut it in half, long ways down the middle, and throw it on the grill, it's awesome. But like you break off the tails, you steam it. They're not done. You have to cook it more. It's going to be. I don't know. It's just. I don't know. Steamer.
I hear what you're saying. Because steaming to me is like the most boring way you can cook something almost. Like it's just
it's
like
how I cooked my frozen broccoli today. And guess what, guys? I overcooked it. I could just
not mid-rare.
Slice it with a fork. It was beautiful. Like the people at the old folks home with bad dentures would have loved it.
Oh my God.
Can't win them all, Danny's dessert was a piragua con leche with melon sorbet, avocado yogurt, candied seaweed, and condensed milk stamp. This one I'm on Danny's side for wanting to shank Manny a little bit. When Manny accidentally used all of the melon for the sorbet instead of realizing that melon balling was on his prep list. Instead, he pivoted and made a lemon relish. And honestly, that sounds way better than like melon balls from the 1980s.
I agree. I think a happy accident.
When Tom was like, basically, this dessert made me remember why I love food. I was like, oh, great. Here's our champion of Top Chef.
That's the question. Is this the dish? This is the dish that won the whole thing, right? I mean, that's what it's got to be, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I'm glad we were able to see the condensed milk stamp on the table, because then when we saw it in like the Top Chef version, it was like melted. I was like, oh no, that is not beautiful. But yeah, the connection to the story and the dish itself like basically moved Tom to tears, and this was probably what put him over the edge for the win.
And this sort of the MacGyver anti-griddle is an awesome thing too. You know, like that's a really cool. It's good. I'm glad the cameras caught that. You know, that is innovative and very smart.
That was really cool to see.
I wish I could have seen the consistency of it a little bit better under the milk stamp, because when they started talking about a snowball, like Jim, I'm sure you've had one, but for the rest of y'all, like a snowball in New Orleans, it's different than like a snow cone or shaved ice in other places. Like the way they shave the ice, it's much finer, so it kind of melts in your mouth, so it almost tastes like ice cream when you have it. And then the condensed milk is pretty popular at certain stands, so I was like all about it, and I was like fascinated at the prospect of the seaweed, but I couldn't see the like consistency of the sorbet and everything. So that was one piece that I just wish I could have been there for. But yeah, like you said, just like Tom talking about it, and I think the way he sold it really made it a winning dish for him. Like I thought he won dessert, even when I thought Dan had won kind of rounds or courses 2 and 3. But yeah, to me, this was the clear favorite.
Agreed.
Yeah, it was a really lovely, beautiful meal. I will say one of my favorite parts of the episode was Kristen being so emotional, from like excitement to just like she was so lovely this whole season, and I really loved her. You know, just kind of she was really enjoying herself as being the host for the first time as well. She was like along for the journey. She gets what they are going through. She understands where the judges are coming from. And I loved at the end when, you know, it was almost like a weird camera angle. Like she was just like speaking like after cut had been called, and somebody just like picked up their camera and held it like a tilt. I don't even remember what she was saying. Just like, you know, it was such like a lovely moment. She really enjoyed being the host for the first time. And it was, I really love Kristen. And this season has really just made me love her even more.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. This was one of the longer post-win sequences I think we've ever had, in terms of them like the show not ending like after the crowning of the champion. But yeah, it was, and I was just thinking that she brings something to the show that wasn't there, that also wasn't there when Padma was there, and it isn't the perfect word for it, but there's a little bit of I guess silliness or playfulness that really wasn't there before. And it's like, and I think part of it's because, you know, she's almost like the fun aunt, you know, and she's not the mom and dad. That's Gail and Tom, but she's like the fun aunt who's going to like just like she's there with she's she's buying you that underage beer,
or the like cool older sister.
Yeah, she's the cool older sister. Padma was the cool aunt, and Kristen's the cool older sister who's like, I've done all this before. I know all the secrets. Like I'll tell
you can use my fake ID.
Yeah,
older, that's better.
And she was so good on her first season that I'm really excited to see like where she can go from here.
And it's really great to watch. I saw they had Tom, Gail, and Kristen all playing a game of how well do you know your co-host, basically. And their dynamic, I wish they showed this more on the show. Their dynamic is so cute, but Kristen, you can tell she just pays so much attention. Like she knew all of the answers for Tom and Gail. You can just tell that she pays attention to detail, and she legitimately cares about the interactions that she has with all of these people. And, you know, she was in their shoes, so she knows exactly what they're going through. So it's just been really cool to see her shine on a show that a season that almost seemed engineered to make up for her being the host, even though she was fantastic.
Yeah.
I will say this episode was I said this before we started recording. This episode was boring, y'all. Like, everyone played nice and made nice food, but that was it. Am I?
Yeah.
If
No,
I'm
you're
alone
not
in this, I completely
No.
understand.
No,
Like,
you're not.
You have no idea what I went through to watch this episode. I couldn't get YouTube TV to work on my Roku, and so I watched it on my phone.
And you're like, all this trouble for this?
All that work, and what did it get me?
I think that might be like the overarching theme of the season, which was like everyone was nice and they cooked perfectly lovely food. But I don't know if we were left like deeply inspired by anything or like particularly anyone with so much love in my heart. And I love them so much and I want to hang out with all of these people.
Yes.
But it was just like I feel like the season itself was trying to like make up for something. Like they tried to throw a lot of stuff at the wall and I don't think necessarily much of it stuck.
I would agree. They experimented with some things, and there were times the tone felt a little weird. And I think I saw a Reddit comment at some point that said, like, we don't actually see a lot of them cooking. Like, it's a lot of like cuts and quick sound bites and this and that, but like the process of each dish coming together at certain points in the season when there were more chefs felt a little disjointed. And I think that was something I picked up on. But yeah, I would agree overall. I mean, who's to say? Who knows whatever the season after Jeff leaves Survivor will be like. Maybe it'll be a total shit show for all we know. But I do think they had a little bit of an identity crisis with might be a touch dramatic, but I think, like you said, they were trying to make up for something. But I was curious if y'all had seen Tom's tweet earlier today. Someone had tweeted, finally watched the Bravo Top Chef finale, must have been horribly edited. Danny had the most issues, blah, blah, blah. And then Tom quote tweeted it and said, agree with your second sentence, which was the sentence about it being horribly edited. So I was curious if y'all had seen that or if you had thoughts there.
No.
But Tom likes to throw down on Twitter.
Yeah, he does.
Sassy.
And I want to verify that this is real and not photoshopped, but I doubt it.
You know what? No, that feels very Tom to me. I watched his
agree.
appearance on Watch What Happens Live a couple weeks ago. And there's one thing about Tom that I know, and that is that he doesn't watch reality television. Like, I don't think he cares about really like the TV aspect of it. Like, he's way more interested in the food. Like, if you told me he's seen like max 5 episodes of Top Chef his entire career, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I just don't think like that's his focus. And he will always go to bat for the chefs over the TV show, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does.
I think that's absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, Tom is a chef first, and he has been his whole career, and he's a mentor and has been his whole career. And I think that he really understands, even though he, obviously has not competed on Top Chef, but he knows what it's like to be a chef in these situations. And he, for sure, to me, always sort of errs on the side of the chef. And that's why Last Chance Kitchen is so good, because you really get to see how he interacts with the chefs more so than when it's just sort of the regular, the main part of the episode. But the truth of the matter is, like, he's also kind of doing that stuff in the regular part of the episodes too. Now, I mean, the judges are kept pretty well separate, but Tom is for sure a chef. And I suspect that you're right, that like he cares about the food and the product. But I also expect that if the finale didn't make sense and his Twitter account is being bombarded with "you picked the wrong winner," then I it's not out of the possibility that Tom responded to that, or it caused him to watch the episode to see what people were talking about.
Yeah.
I just double checked.
Maybe he always watches the finale or whatever. Like, he sees clips of it. I don't know, but
it was just confusing.
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's just confusing. Like, there needed to be a better story, and I think that the story was there. They just edited it in a weird way, and there's lots of like other weird things. Like, it's like 3 minutes into the first episode, into the finale. Do you need to show like elimination challenge? Did that feel weird to you at all? Like,
that was
this
so
is
funny.
literally
I was
the
like,
last challenge, and they
Only because, in addition to capturing the dishes, I captured like verbatim the description of the challenge, and I always know to get ready because of those interstitials. So I appreciate them.
No, but I was confused. I was like, wait, are they eliminating one and then it's going to be a final 2 for the final meal? Like I was confused for a second when they said elimination challenge.
Oh.
But yeah, I just went on Tom's Twitter again, and he has interacted with a lot of the fans who are saying like the wrong chef won, and he's like, I don't remember you at judge's table. But
I love it so much. He's so sassy.
But he was saying, yeah, that someone had said that the edit made it seem closer than it actually was, and he said correct to that. So yeah, that seems to be the opinion of Tom there. I will say this was the first time watching a Top Chef season, not to bring everything back to Survivor, but watching Savannah kind of know what was happening. I think she could tell she kind of dropped the ball on her pasta dish and that the mofongo situation didn't work well. It like weirdly brought me back to Final Tribal and like how I kind of knew it was not going to go my way at the end there. And I was really, really happy to see that in her final confessional. She said she was at peace. She was grateful for the whole experience and this and that. So I actually shot her a message on Instagram, and she replied kind of like, I guess she was up late reading the internet, but I was just like, hey, as someone who lost a reality show in a finale, like I'm really happy you had a good time. I hope you've enjoyed watching with your friends. And she seemed super nice. And I noticed Jesse Lopez from my season follows her because he lives in Durham. So maybe he's been to her restaurant. So if I ever visit him again, I'm going to have to go stop by her spot because yeah, I really liked her. So I just wanted to shout her out. I thought watching her confidence grow, and I caution myself to not sound too patronizing because I think sometimes in some of the editing, everyone's like, oh, look at Savannah. She's finally found her confidence. You know, it comes off a little bit rude sometimes, but I think narratively the arc was very satisfying to me.
Yeah, I would say this whole final 3 was just like so satisfying. Like Dan had such a wonderful story from being from Wisconsin, really being the guy to champion his hometown, and also talking about his chronic illness and his struggle with that and his advocacy for that. I thought he was somebody who I felt like could have been a very usual character we see on this show, but like with a twist. He was so interesting, so engaging. Savannah was just something about her was just so intriguing. She was so lovely, so wonderful. Danny is really interesting too. He's so sweet, he's so talented, he's so devoted to his craft, so devoted to his wife. Like I loved all of his like I love my wife moments. Like he's a wife guy TM, but in a positive way. I don't know if that has like negative connotation now or what. Any lingering thoughts about Top Chef Wisconsin?
Do y'all think that next season are they going to ditch all of this sort of like weird rule modifications and just sort of go back the other way, or are they going to try to make?
I hope so.
I think my guess is they're going to get rid of a third of them, and then get rid of another third, but swap in ones for those. So I think we're going to have like a 1/3 new, 1/3 returning, 1/3 gone.
There was a few things that I really enjoyed and would like to see again. Like I want to see, I really like the quick fire. Actually, I think this is the episode Jim was on with us where they had to go to the market and just buy stuff. They didn't know what the challenge was.
Yeah,
but I want it to be like less connected to some very vital history that we should be learning about, like about this area. You know what I mean? I want it to be a little looser. Like I'd love to see that. I really liked the quick fire with Tom where they had to basically figure out what dish he made. Like there were some cool creative choices when it came to the challenges themselves, but they tried to stick too many things. They were like, we have so many ideas and couldn't narrow them down. So I appreciate that they're trying things within the challenges. I don't think they need to try things with the format of the show that has been working for 20 years.
I do miss the judges cooking for the contestants.
Yes, I was hoping that was going to take place.
Yeah,
but they're on a cruise ship.
They're on a cruise ship. Yeah.
Do you miss the bunk beds they used to sleep in, or do you prefer the single hotel rooms?
Please, single hotel rooms, please. Like I do not like bunk beds. They give me anxiety. If I ever had to sleep on top, then I would definitely fall to my death. They give me a Heaven's Gate vibe. I just don't need any bunk beds in my life.
You know, when I filmed, they were still it was like an old school reality show where there's a huge house and all the chefs live in that one house and we're all cooking for each other. That they've abandoned that post-pandemic. But I will tell you that like I should have known as a reality star, as a reality show fan, I should have known to run in and pick a bedroom first off. Like I should have known. I knew.
the challenge.
I just didn't. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be cool about it. I was just like, yeah, so like me and John Tizar ended up sleeping in not a bedroom, but it was like the entryway to the basement, which is also where all the PAs were like charging the mics and like
oh my
up
god,
at like 4 a.m, like getting the monitors set up for the and I was like, oh, this is just terrible. Like I was like, some people need to get eliminated so I can
people in the master bedroom just go home already. Like
yeah. I don't want to make final.
Well, I mean,
I want to make my own room.
Yeah, for sure. The Brooke and Casey and Shirley contingency like hit the door and ran for the master bedroom. I think that they had the 3 of them room together. But yeah, I kind of miss that element of it because like they seem so forced in the hotel rooms. Like they're like, okay, let's go meet in whoever's got the suite that has the biggest table and let's sit down for a minute and sort of like manufacture some conversation. Where when you're all staying in the house together, it is much easier like to get on each other's nerves because you can't get away from people. It lead to more sort of stress in the game, but then also, you're bonding with people. Like, like we're cooking dinner for each other. They're bringing the groceries to the house together. We're all watching the Notebook and crying like fools in the couch together. And so, you do miss some of that when it's like, okay, challenge is over. Let's go back to the hotel. Like you do miss some of that.
Yeah.
But
I want to watch the Notebook and cry with the 4 of you. That would be great.
I can't watch that because it's too sad. I cry enough just like at like regular stuff. Like I don't need cry bait.
Haley,
what?
the list of things that you allow yourself to watch is like so narrow.
Yeah, because I have too many feelings about things. So I need to like have those feelings be like good ones. Like I can't watch depressing movies or guess who's going into depressive state? This guy. Like it's not good for me. Also, my husband's like allergic to tears. Like if I cry, he's like, "Oh, this again?" Like not in a mean way. I do cry way too much.
Oh God.
It's true. He'll like come down and be like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "The commercial." He's like, "Grow up." Like, it's fair.
Oh
it's
man.
really fair. Where are we going next? Where is Top Chef 22?
Not the Midwest.
Not the Midwest, probably. I feel like we've been skipping over Atlanta a lot. And again, a lot of it has to do with tax credits, who's willing to pay for somebody to be there.
Well, doesn't Atlanta famously do all the like Marvel movies? So they're not above tax breaks for
and
productions.
Stranger Things.
Oh, and Walking Dead.
Yeah,
I feel like every show I watched before school and after school all had that like Made in Georgia logo.
Yeah.
With the peach.
Yeah.
With the peach,
Yeah.
Peachtree TV or whatever it's called on, I feel like it's shocking we haven't been to Atlanta yet. I didn't
even realize that.
I think Philadelphia could be somewhere that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe
have they not done Philadelphia?
I don't believe so.
Not that I can remember. Or like a Pennsylvania. I don't think they've ever done like Pittsburgh either. Like a Pittsburgh and Philadelphia duo could be like super interesting.
Top Chef Wisconsin walked so that Top Chef Pittsburgh could run. It is not. I would not have.
Here's your challenge. Make a sandwich with fries and coleslaw on it. See you in 20.
I would never have thought even like to throw out Top Chef Pittsburgh as an option until Top Chef Wisconsin happens. So I think anything's possible now.
Yeah, like is there any like big hitters that we've been missing?
This might be.
Has Phoenix been done?
Mm-mm.
Has Phoenix?
Nope.
No, they just visited Arizona during Top Chef Houston as like where did they go? Starts with a T, I think. To Tucson. They went to Tucson.
Oh, okay.
But that was just for like a quick trip.
I know. I read an article recently. I know that they did Texas, but they haven't done Dallas, which is a giant city.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that the Houston was so
Yeah.
recently.
That's, but you get by doing Houston after you've done Texas, that means you can now, Dallas is fair game. Have they done Austin?
No.
Not like
No.
specifically.
Not specifically, yeah. Well, one I was thinking of, but it might be too close to this season, is like Top Chef Great Plains, where you kind of like you jump from, you could like do Curt Omaha, Lincoln. I know those are both Nebraska, Tulsa. Don't make me name a city in every one of those states that is really flyover. Anyway, but there's maybe enough variety there to.
Yeah, or like
something.
maybe like let's go to like St. Louis and Kansas City, like that kind of duo. Andy Cohen would love that. I know he doesn't really have anything to do with Top Chef, but it's on Bravo still.
Oh yeah.
Kansas City actually now I'm going to talk myself into Kansas City and like St. Louis. Like I feel like that's a good one. I mean, a lot of rib challenges.
They could do
barbecue. You'll be fine.
They could do Missouri. I mean, they just do Wisconsin. So you get to hit both St. Louis and Kansas City. You could do Hannibal, Missouri, and do some like Huckleberry Finn themed Mark Twain. I don't know, but yeah, I love that idea.
I think Pennsylvania or Georgia would be my two top picks there, because Georgia you could do Atlanta, but you could also do Savannah, and then with Pennsylvania, obviously you have Philly, Pittsburgh, and I guess those would be the main two places you would want to go. But
we've
Amish people,
and Amish and Hershey. You can do a challenge at Hershey Park, chocolate challenge. That was the amusement park I grew up going to. That was so fun, and it all smells like chocolate there.
We drove by it one time. I remember one of my most vivid food memories was eating at the Fuddruckers, like near Hershey Park. And just being like, wow, this is the best burger I've ever eaten in my entire life. Like, and I was so blown away by it.
I saw Carla Hall at a Fuddruckers once in Montgomery County, Maryland, when I was like 12, and I walked up to her and I was like, I'm a big fan. Like that was my first time meeting someone from television, and I could not keep my shit together. Aww. And my friends got a good laugh out of it, but it was so random because it was like a couple of years after her season too. But I was like, wait, you're Carla, and she was like with her whole family. I felt a little bad, but
you were 12.
I think I don't remember exactly because her first season. No. Okay, so wait, her first season was 2008. Okay, so I guess I would have been like 16. So this is even more embarrassing. That's funny. Yeah, I guess season 5 came out 2008. So yeah, I was 16, 17. But I felt like I was 12.
How about Top Chef Niagara? I mean, you could sort of get the whole area.
Oh my God, Jim, don't even tease me with the prospect of that. I'd be, like you could just have a whole Buffalo Wings challenge. Like, come on, come to Buffalo. Niagara's great. Hop across the border,
I could see them doing, they've done Boston already, but like, and they're doing like a Top Chef New England, because you could get very different experiences as you kind of travel.
That'd be cool with like Maine and go to Vermont, have a Ben and Jerry's challenge. Is Vermont technically New England?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I think there are some options here, so I'm looking forward to seeing where they go next. I don't think any of us had Wisconsin on our board, so you know it could be a surprise pick, but I'd like to hear it. Okay, now for
how about Birmingham?
Yeah,
yes,
I mean,
definitely.
That sounds great. You could host them, right? You could be like, "Come on down."
Birmingham's a huge food city.
I'm excited. I just want them to do like different stuff. Like I hope they don't do like a repeat, like LA Part 4
LA
or whatever.
Well, like several seasons ago, there was a string of wrap-ups where I was trying to push for Top Chef Europe, and we just had like the one that was like just based in the UK, but like some sort of like almost like the New England idea is like you're going through. Here's like these 2 days of challenges are in Spain and these are in France, and I think that could kind of be like a nice, National Lampoon's European Vacation sort of holiday road thing that goes on. But we'd love to see like Europe get off the island and into mainland.
It would be fun.
That'll be great.
Oh, that's on the island. How about Puerto Rico or someplace like that? That'd be awesome.
There's a lot of options here, you know. And before I asked the question, I thought we were really running out of options, but I feel like we've given them years of seasons.
And I swear, it's the top. It's for me the Top Chef Wisconsin of it all. Like just like, oh yeah, you could do Top Chef Reno. You know, there's like to me, there's just much more opportunity.
Yeah. And now for the segment I've most been excited for.
Yes.
So Jim told us before the podcast that he's been keeping up with the podcast. So kind of him. And he has written down all of the questions we've asked because we're dumb. And he's here to answer them for us.
Oh my gosh, you wrote all those down?
I did.
I wish you'd emailed them to me that I could actually pose them to you like they're actually us asking the questions.
Instead, Jim's just gonna ask himself, and I'm so excited because, like, as soon as I like text the producers, like, "Hey, podcast is done," like, I have no remembrance of like what has been said or what has been done on the podcast. So I'm so excited for like my idiocy to be like presented to me on paper.
See, I'm terrified, frankly, for the same reason. Forget what I say on the podcast. Some things just shouldn't be said.
I mean, LaTonya, I said earlier that I was a whore for lobster. So, like, I don't know how much worse we can get.
She was a whore, Tony.
All right, Jim, take it away.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe the first one was, if there's a special pantry, do the chef testants know what it is? And I will tell you that in that episode, well, first of all, I got to shout out to Elena Terry. I doubt that she's listening, but Elena is like the one person that I know pretty well from this season. She was the guest judge. She's the First Nations woman who's there from Wild Berries.
Okay.
She is so awesome. Like she does tons of work on reservations around the country to sort of like build up food communities and sort of solve food deserts, and sort of she's a real awesome activist when it comes to stuff that happens on the reservation and really stuff that happens you know to Indigenous people really all across the country. She's an awesome representative. In fact, she and I ate cricket tacos together in Houston one time. And I will say that the thing that Top Chef always seems to forget to me is that these are the best challenges. When you take the chefs and you cook a meal for them with something a food type that they're not used to, whether it's Indigenous cuisine, whether it's going to learn about South Carolina cuisine. For me, like, if Top Chef was only just like, let's take them to the Amana colonies and show them how butter is churned, and then have them, get motivated to make something special. Like, if Top Chef was nothing but that, I think it would be a better show, because those are really the challenges that bring the chefs together. People learn a lot. People are exchanging ideas. You're learning about what's important in the community. And Elena Terry is an awesome representative. And I think I saw that she's going to be doing one of those barbecue shows. So if you liked her as a guest judge, she's going to be competing in these barbecue shows. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, please, y'all should follow her. Her social media is really good. And Wild Berries, it's BEARIES, is the organization that she's the executive chef of, and really just a powerful and excellent organization. And I will tell you that the guy has an awesome book. The Indigenous, can't believe I'm going to forget his name, Sean. But he has a book called The Sous Chef, the SOUIX Chef, which is an awesome cookbook, a really good cookbook if you're interested in sort of like Indigenous foods and the food ways that made America before people like us got here. So it's really, really cool. But yes, and in fact, you can see it in the shot. They were given a list of ingredients that were going to be in the pantry. And when it's something very specific like that, they will let the chefs know what is in the pantry. Also, if someone does have celiacs or has some other eating restrictions that's going to be judging, they will let you know. And it becomes your responsibility to make sure that you're not poisoning a judge. So yes, and yes to both of those. How about this? Did y'all follow anything about the Savannah Mirror conspiracy online? Do y'all know what I'm talking about?
She's a conspiracy, but I did notice like she had like fish boil on there and like stuff like that.
Okay, so there is for sure. I don't know how it got in my feeds. I know that I dove into Reddit, and all these people. I never respond on Reddit, but the people were all very wrong about it. For sure, she had her war board mirror, whatever she was calling it, and it did have fish boil, which is a challenge that had not happened yet, and it had another challenge that had not. It had two challenges that her dishes on it that had not happened yet. And so people were speculating that Top Chef is fake, that they know what the challenges are going to be because she's written them on the board in the Indigenous People episode, like she knew that the fish boil was coming. 100% not the case. And Owen will tell you this too, is like, for sure, on the last day of filming at the hotel, they went to her room and they were like, oh, tell me about this board. And then they chose to edit it into an episode much earlier in the season. So, it's not fake. Chefs do not know what the challenges are going to be. She was not super good at predicting that the fish challenge was going to be the next one. The fish boil was going to be the next challenge. It was 100% shot later in the season and then edited into an earlier episode.
This was a conspiracy online?
Yeah.
Like people are dummies.
I just assumed she did her research. Like she Googled like what's some Wisconsin thing, because she was like the one who came to when they went down to when they went to Curacao, she was like, I looked up Curacao. I did a cursory Google search about Curacao and this is what I found. Like I just assumed it was like, oh, she knows how to work Google. Like good for her. I would forget to do that. I'd be like, I'll do that later, and then I would never do it.
Any other questions for us?
Well, actually, yes. Y'all want to talk about lionfish for a second?
Sure.
Now, yes. I know a lot about lionfish, and I talk about lionfish a lot to people, and really I do a lot of public speaking events because it is something that people really love hearing about, and it's something that everyone should just kind of like pitch in to help out with. Lionfish, they believe, became sort of infested in the Caribbean and Florida all the way up through Texas and into Mexico. Really, people point the blame right at Miami. And it's either people get tired of having lionfish in their fish tank and release them into the wild, which is a terrible thing to do. Or it may have been caused for some hurricanes. Maybe there were some flooded fish tanks. Maybe they got into the water supply. But lionfish are incredibly invasive. They have no natural predators anywhere in the Gulf or the Caribbean, and they are mildly poisonous. Now, if you're a small fish, they're deadly. But if you're a human, it's kind of like a mosquito bite or a mild bee sting. If you get stung with one, it's really not a big deal. I know that they were trying to make it sound super scary on the show. It's not like fugu. It's not going to kill you. And they're very easy to clean. Like you can hold your hand over where the spines are and just remove the fillets without having to worry about cutting yourself or any special equipment or stabbing yourself with the spines. The good news is that they are delicious. They are one of the best tasting fish that you can buy anywhere in the area. And the other thing, that they used to be cheap, much like oxtail. They used to be cheap, but now people realize how delicious they are, and you can't catch them on a hook. So you have to dive for them. And I have seen like all these crazy contraptions, like vacuum cleaners on people's backs that they dive down to and like suck them off the reefs. I've also seen people are converting. Yeah, they very much like you can also people use spearfish and Hawaiian spears and Hawaiian slings, but also I've seen people converting Glocks into spear guns that they can take on the reef to like shoot them. So there are a lot of ways. There's a lot of stuff going on with lionfish, but if you see it on the menu, order it. They need to be eaten. The numbers shot up hugely, and then they've kind of leveled out now, which is where the scientists say means that they're going to be in our waters for a very long time. But eat them, cook them, catch them. They're delicious.
There needs to be a longer list of things where the solution is, Curt, we need you to eat X in order to save the world. Like lionfish, burritos. Like, I'll help in any way that I can. I swear.
Wow, that was fascinating. I didn't know any of that.
Oh yeah, lionfish, they're worth eating. They're beautiful. They're beautiful in fish tanks. They taste delicious. Eat them. And one sort of last thing on kind of a sad note is that James Kent recently passed away, which is the guy who is Danny's mentor. You heard him talk about regularly in the show. He's been a leader in the culinary community for a long time. Now, his family hasn't disclosed what happened, and I'm not going to speculate about it either. But there's a lot of mental health issues in the restaurant industry. It's a very hard industry to work in, to live in, to be in all the time. And there are lots of great organizations out there for chefs and people who are in the industry who are having a hard time or I don't know what happened to James Kent, but I saw pictures like Adrian Cheatham last night was posting at the awards party. Like they're doing like tributes to James Kent and using Danny's win as a way to sort of like, as a means, like to celebrate the life of the chef.
Okay, you always come here with like the best, like you always just blow us away with the learning aspect. It's so fun. I love it every single time.
I feel like I want to take lessons from you, Jim. Like, can we arrange a private tutelage of some sort?
Pay attention to a new YouTube channel coming out very soon by Jim Smith about cooking stuff in the kitchen. I am for sure. I've got a list of episodes ready that I've been working on. We're going to start filming pretty soon. When I say filming, I mean me and my wife in my kitchen with a camera. But we will definitely start having more and more content around, or at least I'm going to have more content around. But yeah, I'm glad you'll enjoy listening to me rant about food. I really do talk like people. I give lectures about lionfish pretty regularly, and so it's one of those things that people like to hear about. It's a lot more interesting than like the motility of snapper eggs. But
no, we love that too. Don't get us
I was enthralled by all of it. I could listen to you talk about anything, honestly.
Okay, tell me why I can't mix fish with cheese.
Oh, this one is a pretty simple one. Fish should be light and delicate and tasty. And the thing about cheese is that it is the opposite of all of that. It is heavy and rich and funky, and they just are two things that don't really work well together. Now, there are always exceptions to that rule. Like, is it okay to put some Parmesan on a grilled oyster, for example? Yes, I mean, that's probably okay. But are you going to take a piece of Gouda and melt it over some shrimp? I just cringe terribly at that. And people in my restaurant, when they are asking if they can have grilled shrimp on their wedge salad, which is loaded with the stinkiest blue cheese that we have, I just say, you can ruin that. You can ruin those shrimp if you want, but I do not recommend that ever. And so it's just that's one of those things where people in my kitchen, I'm like, cheese and seafood is pretty much a never sort of thing, and it's really just because seafood should be delicate and light and whimsical, and cheese is just really the opposite of that.
That makes total sense to me hearing it that way, because it's also like you wouldn't pair a lovely light fish dish with like a really heavy red wine either, because it's just going to overpower everything. All right, that makes sense to me. I'll take that answer.
Hey, can I ask y'all this question about the finale? Did y'all notice that the boat moved to Aruba? Did y'all hear that in the beginning?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But it would have been very easy to miss.
Yeah, like why didn't they say? Like I just don't understand. Yeah, Curt, go ahead.
No. Sorry, I was guessing your question.
Oh, what were you gonna guess the question was?
I thought you were wondering like why didn't they just stay in Curacao? And I was like, well, I mean, in terms of logistics, if they wanted to stay on the boat, they just couldn't have because there's limited portage and ships and that. But that wasn't your question, so.
Yeah, and I got really curious about sort of like the prices of stuff, like in Aruba. So I started looking up sort of basic, like I picked something really simple, like like a slice of key lime pie in Aruba. Like that's about $1.50. I was like, oh, how much is it in the Bahamas? It's like, well, that's like a little bit more. It's $2.50. You go to Miami and the Florida Keys, you're talking about the Florida Keys. That's like $7 for a piece of key lime pie, and those are the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh my god. That was beautiful.
Man.
That was beautiful work. Wow.
Bravo.
Wow.
Excellent.
And you just vanished the second that you made the joke.
Also, like none of us knew what the setup was. We're just like,
No.
yeah, like I'm into like
well, how's this going to affect the shopping budget on their final cook? Yeah.
You worked hard on that one.
That was great.
That was
my
beautiful
God.
work. Well,
I
would end the podcast now, but we still have another segment. LaTonya, what did you eat this week?
Why didn't you come to me first?
Because you're beside me on the screen.
I guess. What did I eat? Excellent question. I had a yummy spaghetti bolognese because I've been doing this thing lately where I watch YouTube shorts about food, mostly in other countries, and then I get really inspired to eat those things. just a simple 1-to-1. And so I saw a video about someone having a bolognese on a cruise ship, and I was like, can't be on a cruise ship, can have a bolognese. So that's exactly what I did. I had a craving for wings, so I got some wings with, I think they were garlic. One was garlic parmesan, and then the other was like a honey habanero, and then I just had some like regular barbecue as well. And I got some Cajun fried corn with that, which was delicious. The Cajun sauce in general is just great, but like I know it has way too much salt for me. I shouldn't be eating it, but it's so good. I got pizza on Sunday to celebrate season 2 of House of the Dragon happening. And I also got some burrata that came with a fig jam that was really good. And then I had this salad that was way too expensive and way too small. Like, I understand salads are, I mean, for some people, salads are an entire meal. I don't understand food prices in Chicago. That's why I got so interested in the setup to your joke. Because honest to God, there are slices of key lime pie in Chicago that are $15. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, why does this cost so much? So this $15 salad was so small, and I guess I was just expecting more. I was just very upset about it. And then I had some really good, it's like a rice bowl, but it had pork belly and an egg. It was very, very good. And I put some crispy onions on top of that, which were delicious. And I had some shrimp gyoza, which was pretty good too. So yeah, not too bad in terms of what I've been eating lately.
Curt, what about you?
That's a good list.
This week?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's tasty. Nothing really too out of the ordinary. I was craving a burrito when I was out shopping, but the closest I get to was a gyro. So I had a really good gyro from a Mediterranean place. I needed something wrapped. Had a really good Reuben from a local sandwich place, and likewise went to a restaurant for lunch today that I'd never been to before. Had a really good white chicken chili. I had just French toast bagel, quickly becoming my favorite flavor of bagel, with some Victoria plum preserves that I picked up at Fortnum & Mason when I was in London this past April. So that was tasty. The plum preserves and French toast.
Sounds really good.
It sounds delish.
I gotta say, I gifted my parents and my brother and sister-in-law a Fortnum & Mason basket for the holidays, and talk about a exceptionally loved gift. I would recommend that for anybody who's like, why, what should I get somebody? And go to the Fortnum & Mason website and order a basket. They are impressive and awesome.
Smart.
I love getting snacks as gifts.
Yeah.
Owen, what did you have this week?
This week, what did I have? So I was traveling a bit this week. I went to a music festival with Cassidy. We went to Bonnaroo in Tennessee. I had made us some breakfast burritos to make at our campsite, and those turned out pretty good.
Oh, nice.
Bacon, egg, and cheese, and potato. I hit a Culver's when we got back to Nashville. That is a fast food chain we don't have down here in New Orleans. So got a little frozen custard action and the cheese curds, and that's up there as one of my favorite fast food places.
One of the things I love about Culver's, they have like a ton of things they can put in their milkshakes. So like my go-to is I get like a peach blackberry milkshake. Like they just mix the fruit in. And,
wow,
so good, so good. Anyway,
that sounds fantastic.
No.
Thank you for the tip. No, there's one right by my soon-to-be in-laws house. So next time I'm there, I'm gonna have to get that.
There's one in Mobile, so it may not be long before you get one in New Orleans.
Let's go. Okay, that's very exciting. That is all very exciting. And then what did we have for dinner? We had a pretty good. We just made spaghetti and meat sauce the other night, but we had the Rouse Calabrian chili jarred Rouse. That it's got a different label than the normal one, so I don't know if it was like a fancier run than they normally do, but I guess we treated ourselves, but it was fantastic. It was really good. That nice subtle heat to it. So that was a good kind of welcome home from vacation dinner the other night.
Did you see Chapel Roan at Bonnaroo?
So we were going to, but one of Cassidy's cats is a little sick right now. So we moved her flight. So she left early, and low-key, we were kind of getting tired, and the Chapel wasn't playing until 3:00 on Sunday, but I was bummed to miss her. But yeah, saw a lot of good shows. It was a good time.
Jim, what have you been making and eating this week?
Well, I've got this. I got a cool story about something that happened today. The head of the oyster police is a friend of mine, and it is a very good enforcement agency. They're the people who do a lot of the science that I get information from. But he and I had been talking about trading two very interesting ingredients, and it went down today. I have a lot of bird's nests at my house, mostly because my wife is China and she came back from she's Chinese and she came back from China with a whole bunch of bird nests, and so I have a lot of bird nests on hand. But I traded it for the Indonesian poop coffee, which I tried for the first time today, which was maybe not necessarily life-changingly good, but I'm glad I got a chance to taste. You know what I'm talking about when I say that?
Think so.
No,
yeah, it's called Kopi Luwak, and I'm sure I'm butchering that pronunciation. But there are it's a small animal in Indonesia that eats the coffee bean with the coffee bean fruit around it, and then they don't digest it, and so it comes out the other end, and then people go through and pick through the coffee beans and then roast them. It is definitely one of the best coffees I've ever had. But it's still coffee, and the version I have is definitely very dark roasted, and I kind of wish it was a little bit more of a medium. I'm not a big light roast fan, but I do like medium the best. But it was very good. Maybe not like life-changing good coffee, but really excellent coffee. And I thought it just funny that I was trading one form of product for another that both sort of involve being digested by an animal before they're consumed by us. But I will tell you another thing I'm really excited about is next week we're doing a wine dinner. We do them pretty regularly, but I'm really excited about this first course dish that we're going to do, which is going to be a smoked oyster. We're going to serve it in the half shell with something very similar to a leche de tigre. It will definitely have coconut milk in there. But I have this really awesome albino caviar, and I'm going to use the bird's nest in that dish as well. And so we're going to have a really fun, cool first course with a pickled or smoked oyster, bird's nest, albino caviar, and little white fried sweet potato crisps. So, but a lot of times people see my restaurant as sort of like a Southern only restaurant, but we do tasting menus every night. And we're about to open, probably by the fall, we're going to open next door, which will be tasting menu only and more courses, and probably on the weekends only. We'll also do wine tastings, and it'll be the wine cellar. We have a pretty extensive list, and so it'll be nice for that to be able to move in a place with a good home and where we can see people and do cool tasting menu stuff.
This is a dumb question, but it's actual like a bird's nest, or is that like a cooking technique?
No. It's what happens is there's several of these caves in China where swallows, they fly into the caves and they eat stuff and then they regurgitate it to make their nest out of. And people go into these caves and they harvest the nests, and they're just like caves full of nests, and they grab them and then dry them, and then you sort of reconstitute them. And they have a really mild kind of grassy flavor. I mean, they're really delicious if you're not thinking about, oh yeah, this is bird vomit that I'm eating, but that really it's what it is. But it is a very unique ingredient, something that is very hard to find anywhere in the States. And something I was happy to trade for some poop coffee. So
wow,
there are other.
Yeah, it's a pretty good trade. But I did do some research. There are some other coffees too, like you can harvest coffee beans from elephant dung. Although they don't usually eat them naturally, they have to be fed coffee beans, and you have to sort of like pull them out. But Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. That's kind of the sort of the interesting stuff that's going on in my food world today.
I was really
I've
about
learned.
that. That's what we're here for.
I have learned more in this hour and a half than I've learned in the past probably 2 years combined. So no, don't apologize at all.
So fun.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Cool. But that's all I've got. I promise. That's all I've got.
What'd you eat, Haley?
I feel like maybe I had a bit of a boring food week. Just mix of laziness and that we were running out of groceries, and just like not running out enough that we had to go to the grocery store, but like running out enough where you're like, I guess these go together now. But on Saturday we went to the Buffalo Bisons game, which is the Blue Jays AAA affiliate in Buffalo. It's a nice quick drive, and we had beef on weck sandwiches, which is like a Buffalo staple, and it's been a long time since I've had one, so it was very delicious. I find the buns a little too salty, so I have to like knock off some of the salt off it. But it was really delicious, and I love any vehicle for horseradish, honestly. Like I think horseradish needs to be on more things. And then Sunday we hosted both of our families for a Father's Day barbecue. So we made sausage, and then I really just used it as an opportunity to make people bring me the salads I like to eat. So my mother made a really delicious macaroni salad. It's like her classic. My mother-in-law made a lovely broccoli salad, and I love it. My brother made a green salad, but you have to have some vegetables when your only other salads are like pasta based. And then I used leftover sausage to make a tomato sauce the next day. And then, gosh darn it, what else? I don't know. I made a crab dip last night because a restaurant nearby makes a crab rangoon dip, and it's so delicious, but it's $9. And it's just like the dip itself. So I was like, I can make my own. And it was pretty tasty, I'm not going to lie. But other than that, nothing too crazy, but that's how it goes sometimes. We're at the end of the Top Chef season, and it might not have been our favorite season of television, but it was a really fun season of podcasting, and I always enjoy being able to talk to you guys. I genuinely forget other people listen to this sometimes. I use it as a weekly excuse to talk to my friends and then make more friends on the podcast and make people come talk to me about things. So it's just been another great season of talking about it. Top Chef RHAPup's turning 10 in January, so hopefully we will kind of have some sort of special episode for that. We have a lot of time to think about it and hopefully not forget about it. Sometimes the days kind of run out of my head. And where can people find you on the internet if you want to be found on the internet?
Yeah, it's The Young Knight on Instagram and Twitter. It's a normal letter on Instagram, and it's a 0 on Twitter. But yeah, The Young Knight, follow me there. Same old, just living life. But yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, always happy to talk about Top Chef. So you reach out in the future. I'd always love to come back.
Awesome.
Jim, where can people find you?
Yeah, follow me and the restaurant, The Hummingbird Way. We're on all the socials. Well, really, just mostly Instagram and Facebook. But please follow me and the restaurant. It's a good way to keep up with what's going on. It's a good way to find out what kind of cool stuff we're serving in the restaurant. And since the last time I was on here, I begged for 100,000 followers. And surprisingly enough, I have gotten a lot more followers. I think I've accrued almost 1,000 followers since the last time I was on the show with y'all. And not only that, but I started getting all these messages in my DMs about how to get 100,000 follers quickly. So I was saying, all that kind of stuff is really scary.
Bots listen to us.
So maybe that day when me and Owen make it on the Traders together, we can.
I was gonna say we didn't get you on Traders 3, but we're getting you on Traders 4.
I'm gonna more aggressively audition than I did this past time. I'm gonna aggressively audition.
Yes.
Which I've already got it planned. So
amazing.
Aggressive auditioning from Jim.
Aggressive.
So.
I love it. Kurt, how about you?
Best place is probably Curt Clark with 2 C's on Instagram. Follow me there. If you want to see what I'm going to be eating in the future, Sunday is Detroit style pizza day, so I'll be hitting that up. And follow me if you want to see some pizza pictures. That's about it.
LaTonya?
I'm going to miss all of you very much. So this is sad, honestly, that we're ending the season. But I am podcasting about House of the Dragon for the Page and Screen podcast. We're really trying to, it's me and DM Philly, and we're really trying to build up our listeners. So I know that you have many other places that you can go for takes on House of the Dragon. But so far, only one podcast where you can get my takes on House of the Dragon. And that is on Page and Screen. You can follow me on Twitter at LK Starks, where I will be letting you all know what I'm talking about. I was also recently on the Perfect Match wrap up, talking about season 2, episodes 7 through 9, because I posted that I wanted to talk about it, and then Haley CC'd the host. So be careful.
I need you to know. I was like loaded, and I was just like on Twitter being like, well, Kristen, Jason, I had to like go in an old podcast and like find what Jason's Twitter handle is, because I knew it was like weird. So it's like go in an old podcast to like find it.
Yeah. That show is a mess. And if you enjoy mess like I do, then you'll enjoy that podcast for sure. Be careful what you put out into the universe, people, because Haley Strong will make it happen for you. But yeah, follow me on Twitter at LK Starks. I'll be talking this summer about gymnastics and the Olympics as well. I haven't got the plans completely laid down yet. So if you're interested in the Olympic Games, which are happening next month and are giving me life, then or you like gymnastics, then tune in to my Twitter and find out where I'll be talking about it.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at hstrong_. And you can check out everything I'm reading over on my Bookstagram account at The Strong Library. I joined my friend Tori and Angela on Tori's podcast, Ready to Be Romance, to talk about part 2 of season 3 of Bridgerton. That should be coming out probably the same time this comes out, actually. New season of The Bachelorette is starting soon, so keep your eye out for Bachelorette coverage. Until then, thank you, Owen. Thank you, Jim, for coming and hang out with us multiple times this season and tonight. Curt and LaTonya, thanks for always being lovely. Yes.
Haley, you won the draft.
Yay! I didn't even know. Yay! Good, because I probably won't win the Bachelor draft this year. What a thrill. Thanks for being great co-host. And to all the listeners, thank you for listening. This has been so lovely. And we appreciate every time you talk to us and tell us that you like us. And it's very nice. And with that, pack your knives and go. Bye.
Bye.